Sup YouTube, it's Snorlax TCG here, and welcome back to another TCG video on my channel. On this channel you get daily Pokemon TCG content, so be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future content. We're going to be talking about EUIC, the upcoming internationals over in Europe, which I'll be attending as well. It is going to be held in London on the weekend of April 5th, and it's going to be a fantastic weekend with, of course, rotation going into effect. We're going to be losing a ton of competitive sets. We're going to be losing a ton of competitive decks. Think about Lugia VMAX, Urshifu decks, etc. So these all get rotated out. Battle VIP pads, Path to the Peak, all of that stuff is gone, and it's going to be post-rotation with, of course, a new set introduced, Temporal Forces as well. So a huge tournament with over 2,000 masters. It's going to be something you don't want to be missing out. So definitely check out the live stream if you have the opportunity, or just come and say hi if you're at the tournament as well. I'll be playing, and this is going to be a tier list based on testing. I did a tier list prediction video where I did some predictions with without any testing, which we're going to be talking about. I actually talked about that before. So with the cards being revealed and released, I was talking about a tier list prediction video based on the Japanese best of one results. But now with some more testing going into this format, definitely with some preparations. I printed a lot of proxies. We've been testing for definitely over a month, so we know a little bit of what is actually really good and what is actually a little bit lackluster. But before we dive into this tier list, be sure to of course check out our sponsors. There's dragonshield.com for your sleeves, binders, and deck boxes. You can get 5% off on everything on the website using the coupon ZAPDOS5. There's also yourplaymat.com where you can get 10% off by clicking that link down below or using the coupon ZAPDOSTCG10YP. And you're going to be able to create your own custom playmat from scratch, whether you're uploading your favorite wallpaper or your own unique design. They ship to you worldwide. There's PotanStore.com for your TCG Live code card needs. You can use the coupon ZAPDOSTCG for 5% off. Whether you're looking for promo codes or the latest booster packs in town, they have the coupons ready for you to use on TCG Live. And then there's also Cardmarket.com, a European platform where you're able to buy and sell cards to people all across Europe. I personally use it every single day. You guys should check it out as well, and you can use the referral name ZAPDOSTCG to help support the channel. With that being said, I have tested a lot of decks, and the thing that comes to mind is that both the Charizard list, Pidgeot, as well as Bibarel are like really good. There's not like anything you don't want to be seeing personally, because the deck is just that strong. It doesn't lose anything. You still have body puffing. The Bibarel build can use TM Evo, so you're a little bit less weak against your counter TM Devolution. So with TM Evo, you can instantly go into some Charmeleon as well. You have access with Pidgeot to any card in the deck. Something like an Eerie that you could slide into your deck could help win specific matchups, so you can get rid of the opponent's items when you need to. There's a Palpa, which allows you to reuse your supporters in the means of something like a Turo. You can tech against any deck in the format currently, so you don't have to be afraid of like, oh, I am actually afraid of Snorlax Block. You can tech in Turo, Palpad, maybe a Jet Energy, a Switch. You can tech for specific matchups, and that's what makes the tier S decks being the Charizard. Charizard is number one, public enemy number one, and for good reason. It is consistent. It loses like without Path to the Peak, there's not a lot that can stop Charizard out there. There's not a lot of great grass type attackers, even though we're getting Iron Leaves EX thrown up into the mix. It is very hard to be tacking that in. Some Arctina lists are playing that. Sometimes you could also see it in future boxes, but it is actually really hard to set up properly because it does require to have some energies in play. But for now, I'm putting the tier S. The number one deck to beat is Charizard because we've tested it. It is very good. Whether you're going for Bibarel or Pidgeot, personally I'm a little bit more fan of Pidgeot, but it's also having that weakness built in, that TM Devolution can be the answer against some Charizard Pidgeot builds out there. Whether you're looking for Bibarel or Pidgeot, let me know which version you prefer, but this is the number one deck to beat. On top of that, on the tier 1, I'm also putting Chien-Pao. Chien-Pao is actually super great right now. The worst matchup for Chien-Pao was, of course, Mew VMAX. Also, something like Metachamp with Yoga Loop and the Urshifu shenanigans was not good for a deck like this if they were able to Yoga Loop your Frigibax. All of those decks have rotated, so it opens the door for Chien-Pao to be fantastic. Chien-Pao can go 2/2/2 in every single matchup. You now have access to Prime Catcher, so fetching that out with Irida is super fun. Prime Catcher on top of Canceling Cologne can get yourself like a board sweep situation going with, of course, the Radiant Greninja and yeah, the Moonlight Shuriken attack. You can go for MP very much as well with the Iron Hands, and one-shotting big HP Pokemon like Charizard, for example, is easier than ever before with, of course, the Chien-Pao and the Hail Blade attack. I'll put this solidly into tier 1. Also, I'm a big fan currently of using the Ditto. The Ditto allows you to transform into any Pokemon, because then Buddy Puffin becomes way more powerful in a deck like this. So I put that in tier 1. I have tested it. I'm actually a big fan of Chien-Pao, as you all know, as it helps to get my Worlds Invite. So I'm a little bit biased for that deck, but it is very good in testing as well. Moving forward, I'll be putting... Yeah, Lugia is a strong deck, but it bricks so much, so I'll put this in tier 2. People might just roast me for this, but I'll put Lugia in tier 2 just because it has... I have so many situations where I cannot get out my entire strategy going. Sometimes I have to play with 1 Archeops. Other times I have just a hand with 6 energies and a Pokemon. Other times I just get MP very much by specific decks out there. And other times I run out of energies when I'm playing against Charizard. So yeah, I don't know. What is it with Lugia after testing? I was solidly convinced it was tier 1, but I'll just put this in tier 2 for now. You can run on the Master Ball Ace Pack card, but I have bricked way too much with Lugia to put it higher than tier 2. Tier 2 are very great decks, by the way. Also, really fun fact is that this actually is going to be tier 3, so we just need to edit that a little bit, so there is that. So we do have a tier S, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, etc., and then the Don't Play This category. What we can see here is that Lugia is a strong deck inherently, if you can get everything out. If you can get like the whole Archeops shenanigans and the discard pile by turn 1, on your second turn you evolve, you're good. Also in a best of 1 scenario, I think like the Japanese people run away with the game, because most of the decks, like the Charizard list, prefer to be going second, and that helped in Lugia's favor. But if you know you're up against Lugia, things could go wrong very quickly. So putting it in tier 2, yeah, that's just my final opinion. We have a random Wug Trio deck, put that in Don't Play This. I don't know what it's doing here. Also, let's put Torterra in that Don't Play This category as well. What else could we not play? Like the Meowscarada. I know it's great against Charizard, but against the other decks out there, I'm not too fan of it. So currently, I'll put this in the Don't Play This category as well. So even though they're grass attackers, they can beat Charizard. They're probably going to be losing against everything else. With that being said, we're going to be talking about some other decks right now. I'll be talking about Lost Box. I'll put that in tier 1. It's still tier 1. It is great. You can. This is probably talking about the Turbo Lost Zone Box deck that revolves around your Mirage Gates, your MP very much attack, your Roaring Moon thrown into this list as well. And sometimes we also see Hoopa EX, which can deal some damage against Iron Hands as well as Arceus decks. I'll put that in tier 1 for now. Alright, we've talked about a lot of decks out there. The Sablezard version of Lost Box also seems strong with TM Devo. Is it going to be strong enough? Because both of these Charizard builds are playing Jirachi, and yeah, the Bibarel version does beat this kind of version of the Lost Box. So put that in tier 2. I think the best version to playing the Lost Box in the post-rotation format is probably going to be that Turbo Lost Zone box with like some high amount of vacuums in there, with maybe a Raikou and a Forest Seal Zone going around there, so you can fetch whatever you feel like, and then going for a turn 2 Mirage Gate onto whether you're going to be attacking with Radiant Greninja, or an Iron Hands, or the Frenzied Gouging attack of something like a Roaring Moon. It is all possible, so I'll put it like this. Moving forward, we have Gardevoir. This is actually a deck that surprised me the most in testing. I put that like previously on like tier 3, but I'll actually put it in the high amount of tier 2 because if decks are not piloting or not respecting Gardevoir, I would say if they're not respecting Gardevoir, they might actually lose, and Counter Catcher Iono Screamtail is still a win condition. On top of that, if people are not attacking in Vacuum, they also might be surprised at how much damage a Drifloon can actually pack, as well as a Screamtail with the Heroescape equipped. So also, now that I think about it, you can put the Heroescape on a Gardevoir in specific matchups as well to protect your 2-prize liability. For now, only tier 2. It lost Shining Arcana, let's be honest. It is just a shell of what it used to be, the Gardevoir deck, but it is not tier 3. I put it in tier 2 solidly after a little bit of seeing it a little bit in action with testing. Raging Bolt with the Sandy Shocks. In testing, it actually performed okay, but I'll still put it in tier 3 because it probably is not able to win against like the means of Zard, I suppose, because let's be honest, these Sandy Shocks have a low amount of hit points. Some versions of Charizard are playing maximum battle. You can just hit through those against Chien-Pao. They can amp you. You're probably playing Squawkabilly in that list as well. Things could not go very well. So I'll put it in tier 3. It is a cool deck, but you don't see it winning that oftenly. Moving forward, let's see here. Snorlax Block, tier 1. This is actually a scary deck to be facing off against. If people are not respecting Snorlax Block, they will lose. How much Snorlax Block will there be at EUIC? That I don't know, but if you're not prepared for it, like Chien-Pao could lose. They only have Prime Catcher or maybe one switch out at most. They can get trapped with their something like a Manaphy. They could lose their superior energy retrievals through the means of Eerie. Eerie is what makes the Snorlax Block deck very, very scary. Same goes for like Charizard list. Even if you're running that one copy of Switch or maybe the Palpat for the Turo, they can Eerie that away. They can Misfortune Sisters it away. You could start with a very unfavorable Pokemon. For example, you could start off with a lone Manaphy, then you lose the game if you don't have a Switch out. Yeah, Snorlax Block is good, but will people actually put the time and testing into it? There is the Control-ish archetype of Snorlax Block. The higher skill player people will actually prefer this over just the Rotom builds. But that will be less likely to be seen. So I'll put that in tier 2. I think the best way is to have a consistent Snorlax Block with, of course, a Rotom and all that draw power, because now there's Prime Catcher, and having Pidgeot EX as a liability could be your downfall, giving up 2 prize cards. Even though Rotom also gives up 2 prize cards, it is very easy to, of course, penny it up. Well, the Pidgeot is a little bit less likely to get removed from play. Dialga, I have not tested this, but I'll put that in tier 3. It might be fun to use that Star Chronos because attacking and then taking additional prize cards is good. You also have 280 HP, and the more energies they have, the better damage output the Metal Blast will become. Future Box is better than I anticipated. Is it tier 1 though? I don't know. Future Box, it actually has some trouble against Charizard, so for that reason I'll put it in tier 2. The things that are in tier 1 have a shot against Charizard. The other ones, less likely, I would say. Gholdengo, where do we put that? Also in tier 2, I suppose. Put Lugia on the higher end, as well as Future Box. Put it like this, I suppose. Gholdengo is a strong deck. Without Path to the Peak, it actually roams free. But it's still not tier 1. Surprisingly, the better version of like the one-shot machine shenanigans deck is still going to be Chien-Pao. Okay, Future Box, I would put that in tier 3. If you want to be playing Future Box, you're better off playing Iron Hands Turbo Box, because 2-2-2 is the best way to go about this. Future Box could be playing all sorts of attackers. You can put in Iron Leaves EX, you can put in the Moth in there as well, the Fire type, Future type Pokemon. Lots of stuff you could do with this, but initially you attack with Miraidon, put some energies in play, and then Iron Leaves can actually slap a huge amount of damage the more Iron Crowns you have in play. Arceus Giratina, I'll put that in tier 2 as well. It has seen a lot of results lately, but not the results I was hoping it to have in the beginning of the shenanigans. I'll put it in the higher amount of tier 2 as well. You can rely on Iron Leaves to get a better Charizard matchup. There's still Judge. You can play some disruptive stadium cards in the form of the League Pokemon League headquarters. There's also the way you can be playing Eerie to make sure you can discard rare candies or superior energy retrievals in hands. It's just Artina, just attach pass, then go crazy. That's pretty much what it is. Moving forward, we have Miraidon, Miraidon Flaffy. Flaffy has rotated, so I'll put it in the lower out of tier 3. Of course, you can still play Miraidon. Yeah, Raikou is still in the format as well. Electric Generator is still in the format. But you don't have Path to the Peak, and also you lost Flaffy, so it lost a lot of power. The Mill archetype, I don't know, I'll put it in the low end of tier 2 for now. I am not too big of a fan of the mill archetype, because if you know how to play against it, it's kind of easy. You could get away with winning against something like a Chien-Pao, against Lost Box as well. Maybe against Snorlax. Yeah, it's interesting. But against Charizard, I don't know how to feel about it, because Charizard is also not too bad. Maybe I'm just underselling this archetype. Let's just put it over here in tier 2 in the middle of it. Then Arceus with Vulpix. Vulpix does have an answer against something like Chien-Pao, something like Charizard, Radianzard also not being able to touch Vulpix. Maybe we'll also put that in tier 2. So lots of tier 2 decks, I suppose. Arceus, Armor Rouge, I'll put that in tier 3. Don't play this version of Arceus. It's probably better off if you're playing Arctina or Arceus Vulpix. Let's just be totally honest. Then there's a couple of decks remaining here that the Iron Valiant Entei deck is an interesting one, because you can win on the spot against something like a Zard, but if you go like second, then they have already a turn with Buddy Puff and you instantly lose if they get a Zard out. So I don't know how to feel about this. I'll put it in tier 3 as well. They are interesting and working decks, I suppose, but not that powerful. Then Roaring Moon, it's not tier 1 anymore. It lost a lot of power with the rotation of Galarian Moltres V, so I'll also put that in tier 2. Giratina, is it still good? You can win against Snorlax, you can win against Chien-Pao, and Charizard is an okay matchup as well. So maybe we put that in tier 2 on the higher end as well. People are underselling maybe Giratina in the form where there is, of course, a path that rotated, but you have more outs for consistency now. You can maybe tack in Temple of Sinnoh, so you cannot get Frenzied Gouging, although the Frenzied Gouging shenanigans will happen less likely, because Roaring Moon also is a little bit nerfed with the rotation, and that's where we're going to be at. So lots of tier 2 decks, to be honest. Like the tier 3 decks are the decks I'm not too keen on, and then one prize box also tier 2, and I initially had this at tier 1, but it seemingly has a rough Charizard matchup. You could tuck in like a couple of Roaring Moon EXs and some Dark Patches, which are things that people are doing currently, is like just cutting the Koraidon altogether and adding in Roaring Moon EXs instead. And with that happening, you do have a little bit of a better shot, but even then, Charizard seems to be a harsh matchup. So this is currently where I'm at. I'm putting tier 1, I would say Lost Box, Snorlax, Chien-Pao. Maybe in this order, I would say Charizard is tier S. Then for the tier 2 decks, high-end tier 2, Arceus, Lugia, Giratina, Future Box. And then on the lower end, we have Ancient Box, Mill, Gardevoir, Gholdengo, Roaring Moon, EX, and Sablezard. Tier 3, we have Arceus piles that are not containing Vulpix or Tina. Miraidon, Future Box, Raging Bolt Shenanigans, Dialga VSTAR with Metang, Iron Valiant Entei, and then the Dome Plate is like, they are counters to maybe Charizard, but you probably will lose against the rest of the field, which is definitely not something I would recommend. And that's my tier list currently for EUIC. I would be playing the decks tier 2 and above. If you're playing any of the decks tier 2 and above, you probably are going to have a good time and at least going to be winning like most of the games, which is awesome. And be sure to test out any specific matchup as soon as it comes available over on play.tcg.com. We can check out some data over at Trainer Hill, but this is my tier list for EUIC. If you enjoyed the video, let me know by rocking the hell out of the like button. Helps out in ridiculous ways you have no idea. And also, go check out the sponsors that make this video possible as well. You have some coupon codes here which you can use to get some percentages off your purchases. Definitely do so. Stack up on some Dragon Shield sleeves for the rest of the season. Get 5% off using the coupon ZABLOOS5. The rest of them also getting coupons. You have yourplaymat.com, 10% off when creating your own custom playmat. TCG Live code cards, 5% off using coupon ZABLOOSTCG over at PokemonStore.com. And Card Market to buy sleeves, not sleeves, to buy singles, sealed products from people from all Europe. So if you're a European player, go head over to cardmarket.com and you can buy and sell cards to people all across Europe. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you guys soon with more Pokemon TCG content. Peace.